Okay, what's happening, everyone? This is Corey here with the Long on Lacrosse Journal. I got Coach TK, who's the head women's lacrosse coach at Quinnipiac. Coach TK, how you doing over there?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing
Here.
okay. We're getting through it, right? We're trying to make the most of the situation. Are you in the same boat?
Happy to talk to people.
Yeah,
We're
for
fine.
now it's virtual.
There's
You're
there's always a silver lining.
yeah. What do you think? I mean, what are some signs in terms of the silver lining in your opinion with all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think even just when I think about our team and our administration and how our university is handling things, we're the value of communication has just been amplified. And
Hmm.
so, I think we're getting better at it. We're getting creative. It's requiring people to get more creative, and so we're doing it.
I think this is just like my opinion and perspective. Like the reason the communication has been amplified is because I think it's because like people were so like busy and like just doing stuff before this all happened that like in a way you can be so busy that like you just fail to communicate, and it was like an acceptable excuse a lot of the time, so people just didn't do it. And now like that's like not the case. I think people are kind of like having time to communicate and they're doing it and they're like, oh wow, like I kind of like this, I'm getting better at it, like this, there's ways to do it. And as a result, like more people are connecting in ways that I'm guilty of it too. I talked on Zoom for the first time. I graduated in 2011 from college. The first time I saw everyone in like one place. I know we're on our computers, but like in like almost 10 years, I'm like, this is unacceptable. So I'm guilty of it. But do you kind of find that same thing happening on your end?
Yeah, I even find myself like getting connected to teammates I haven't seen in 15 years. So I think it's requiring us to go outside of what's comfortable or what was available, and now finding ways to, because it's fulfilling to communicate, to get better. Even as like mid-season, it's hard to keep my. I always tried to make sure that I'm continuously learning, and it's hard. You wake up early to watch that YouTube or get on that webinar. But I think now it's allowing us the time to just kind of get better and maybe build a better relationship with a player, an administrator, or even just a friend or family member.
Yeah, I'm so with you. And it's cool to be able to develop like kind of like a deeper relationship. Like you think you know someone, and like for example, we're kind of using this time too to talk to our recruits, helping them through the process. So we do our Zooms with them sometimes and their family or just them. And just the other day, like a girl was like, "Yeah, I play 5 instruments." Like, oh wow, like didn't know that about you. And like you get
Cool.
these things that you never knew. But yeah, it's all good stuff. So let's just go back a little bit just so we can get to know you a little more as a college lacrosse coach in your professional career. Can you just talk a little bit about like your coaching journey, the stops you made along the way, and some things that you've learned in your experience?
Absolutely. I guess you would say it's a little unique, and I like it that way. I got an opportunity to take a fifth year in college, which kind of made me realize that coaching was the route that I wanted to go instead of education. Because I felt like I could be an educator and do the sport I loved, which was awesome. It's like an outdoor classroom.
Hmm.
And so I think I approach my coaching that way, and I've kind of been able to learn under a lot of awesome leaders, and take little tidbits of things along the way to make my own philosophy. Um, which has been really nice. I liked being an assistant. Most of my career, I have been an assistant. But to me, it's the team you're a part of on staff rather than your actual title.
Hmm.
And so I've really enjoyed it. I started at Marist, which was really interesting. I went through the interview process. Um, right when I took that job, I got offered another job I was really waiting for. But loyalty matters to me, so I stuck with my commitment to Marist. And then
No,
um,
you were a head coach, TK. You were a head coach there though at Maris, or you were an
uh,
assistant?
an assistant first. Um,
Gotcha.
and I went out to, actually, kind of funny, I left Marist and wasn't sure that coaching was for me, and got an opportunity to go out to Hawaii, and build rock gardens out there, and surf a little bit, which I love to
Sweet.
surf. And it was a really good, time for me to kind of really focus in on whether or not coaching was what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a call came my way to go out to California at St. Mary's. Program's no longer existing, unfortunately. And then while I was out there, I got a call to come back to Marist and be the head coach. So kind of full circle, got to, be with the players that I had the opportunity to start with as a coach, and lead them to their first MAC championship, which was awesome.
Yeah, that must have been some experience that year.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, I think I got there February 1st. So I think we only had 2 weeks to get ready for the season. And I literally, all my stuff fit in a car. I drove across country, kept the stuff in my car, got out on the field and said, "Hey, I'm your head coach. Remember me." So that was interesting at 25, I think. But super fun. I think it all happened for a reason. Those players won that championship. I just helped them through, little things along the way. But they drove the bus, which was awesome.
That's great.
They were ready for it. And then I got an opportunity to go to Hofstra after that, which was great. Spent 4 years there, got my master's degree, and got to learn under Coach Abby Morgan. She's no longer in the game, but one of the best minds of the game. And then I got the opportunity to go to Yale as an assistant coach under Ann Phillips, and learned a ton there. Ivy League rules obviously are very different than scholarship NCAA Division I school. So I thought that was really important for me to know, and have in my back pocket. And then I found myself at Central Connecticut for 2 years as the head coach. And, obviously there it was a really good opportunity. I'm a state school girl. I went to UConn, and Central was a state school, first state school I was coaching at. So I thought that was really good to learn the ins and outs of a state school versus a private school. And then the opportunity to come to Quinnipiac came up, and it was almost a no-brainer to kind of take the leap and go for it.
Can't forget to mention you're from Long Island, right?
Yes. Yep.
Hicksville.
Hicksville girl. Yep.
There we go. We got it. We always got to give Long Island a shout out on the Long Island Lacrosse Journal.
My family still lives there, so I love Long Island.
Us too. Is that wave in the background? Is that from Jones Beach, or is that more of a web? Is that a Hawaii wave there?
Oh, so that's a Heather Brown art. Heather Brown's like a huge artist in Hawaii. She just does unbelievable art. And so my place is basically decorated with all of her art.
Nice. I got to check her out. She probably has a nice Instagram page.
Yes, you would love it.
Cool. I love it. So yeah, I always find it really interesting when coaches kind of a unique journey like yours, where you kind of go from like one stop to another, and every school is so different, for the most part. That's interesting. Like how do you kind of, like, what's the first step when you get to that new school and you realize, like, all right, I'm gonna probably have to bring in different types of recruits here, like, the makeup and like what makes the school different and special and unique. I got to figure that out. Like where do you even start when you go from like one extreme to another?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't think I realized what I was doing until like this last step. But I have always been taught, like, learn, like, be a learner, like, ask questions, and take as much information as you can in every situation. And that's kind of how I approached every move I made, was like, how do I be the best me for this place? And I think how can I be the best me for my players?
Mhm.
And how will what makes, the players that I want to coach, how can they fit in here? And can they fit in here, to be honest?
Mhm.
Um, I actually go on, like, every job I've taken, I went on a regular admissions tour before I
Nice.
took the job, just to kind of see what someone outside of athletics says about athletics, or just how they portray their university, which is kind of neat. And
Yeah.
then I just ask questions.
Mhm.
Met with a lot of deans when you first get to a place, especially at Quinnipiac. I want to know, like, what their values are, what matters to them. And I think I also want to know so that I can be sure that the student athletes I bring to wherever, they I know what I'm talking about, and their futures are in a good place,
Yeah.
not just time with me.
Can we talk a little bit more about kind of like values? And, I know some coaches, they have team pillars or core values, and depending on how, like, what's important to you, and, what you define as building a successful culture and team, that can vary for you. What are some of those things that are really important to the Quinnipiac women's lacrosse program?
Yeah, so our non-negotiables are attitude, effort, and a commitment to a positive team culture. I say those, it seems so cliche, but if your attitude's in the right place, we'll get through anything. If your effort is never in question, you're going to keep getting better. And then obviously a positive team culture. I think culture is something that it doesn't graduate, and so you really have to make sure that it's clean, it's healthy, it makes people better, it creates an environment of, like, risk taking. I don't want players that are robots. I want players that are creative, that can play with other people, because now we have so many players that are talented,
Hmm.
uh, which I think is super fun. But now it's making recruiting even more. Um, you got to get to the nitty gritty of a player, because talent doesn't always mean they have high character, or they do value those three pillars that I talked about.
Yeah. What are some ways that you find out whether or not a player kind of has those intangibles you're looking for? Because I feel like that's not something that's always on the surface, right? Like athleticism or speed or even
Yeah.
IQ.
Yeah, we're I think if you ask my staff that, they would say she's so annoying about it, because it really is the most important. Um
Yeah.
and so we probably watch players more than most. We don't even contact a player until all of our staff members have watched a player play 3 times. Because you pick up on those things. We'll go to their last game of a tournament, and we'll see if they're dogging it, or the ones that get on our list are the ones that are still going as hard as they can, no matter how tired they are.
Hmm.
Because I think that effort and that attitude piece, that gets into the toughness of a player,
Hmm.
the resilience of a player. And I think we get to see that in those evaluations. But then we call their coaches if they're, I love 3 sport athletes or multiple sport athletes. So if they have other coaches, we're going to call them. And, I want to know, their best moments, their worst moments, because you're going to get along with everyone at their best day, but you're not always going to get along and be able to get better together on their worst day. And those are
Sure.
the kids I want.
How important is being a good teammate to you?
It's everything. I think if you ask a lot of the players on the team, we're talking about being a teammate every day, in our, like, warm up, in our cool down, during a drill. All our drills have, like, components, focus points that tap at mindset, skill set, team, and then chemistry. So all those chemistry plays are something that, as coaches, we're evaluating every day, every game. And I think that's just important to us. If we don't have that chemistry, and that, your team has to matter more than you.
Hmm.
Um, That's kind of the message we try to get across often.
Cool. Well, one thing that's really exciting, just kind of like observing your program, is you have a very young, talented team, and sometimes with that, it's really exciting, and there's a lot of positives, but also it's not always easy to sometimes navigate or manage, just because if a freshman's getting playing time, that might mean an upperclassman's not. You're right, and then if a freshman's displaying really good leadership, it might be shown as like arrogance or whatever. So how do you kind of work through those things, and where's kind of the direction of the program going in your eyes as it relates to the young talent on your team?
Yeah, I love that question. I think every player on our team has value. And so, if values placed in playing time, if values placed in, the way they take care of the team, if values placed in, how the communication within the team, like they all have a role. And so to me, what I always talk about in the recruiting process is if being happy in our program has only to do with playing time, this isn't the program for you. If being happy and contributing to a program has everything to do with everything else and then playing time, then it's something you should really seriously consider, because like you said, with a big freshman class, um, it doesn't mean you guaranteed to play, but
Hmm.
once you step on that field, and we say this a lot at practice, you step on the field, it's class blind. And if you treat it differently, that's when we're going to have discussions about it. But communication is something that is required. Player to coach, coach to player, and then players to players.
Hmm.
Um, and that's not always natural. So we try to encourage that in a lot of our drills. And we call it in our money time, but that money time is usually between drills, like between a call. That's when you can beat an opponent. And so how do you use that time to kind of get together, get better as a team, or be a better teammate for someone? But I think
Cool.
the roles, definitely it's class blind. You step on the field and you all have a job to do. And so if you're in that role to do that job, you got to do it. And if you can't do it, then maybe someone will play over you. But it's very
Sure.
clear. I don't want to play games.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know, sometimes that could be really, I don't know, detrimental, and it's also frustrating. And I think it also stands out for a lot of players when they like hear a coach say like, "Oh yeah, they play mind games," or like this or that, and to have like clear communication and understanding that everyone has value, and then if the players know that, then it creates like a fair process that I think people can't really argue with, because it's predicated around how hard you work and your performance, which is great. So how is your team kind of handling just everything kind of being cut short, and what are some ways that you're working through it in a positive way to say like, okay, we're going to get through this just like we do everything else?
Yeah, we have a really good group. We were on our Virginia trip when this started to happen. And so it was our day off when I had to kind of tell the team that, hey, our season's done. So I called them in, and thank God it was spring break. So we were able to have everyone together. And I felt like we just needed to be human together and discuss it honestly and openly. And like we always say, like, stay where your feet are. And so I think this is something where it's teaching us how to be present. And so we've taken every day as it comes. And so communication wise, they're still our priority, and health and safety is our priority. Not until this week have I really talked lacrosse, because I think this is unique for everybody, from administration to a university to coaches, players. It's all new, and
Hmm.
so I didn't want to act like I knew what I was talking about, but I did want them to know that I cared, and they're a priority. So we've been Zooming, we text, some FaceTime calls, emails, obviously, and then I think just doing things to bring us together. So I don't know if you saw on our Instagram, we did a virtual rock paper scissors competition with Iona.
Nice.
Um, but just trying to find if we can't play, we got to find a way to compete still. They want that.
Sure.
And so just finding a way to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting because every program was kind of in a different place when the news happened. I was reading about a team that they had just finished practice and they're about to go to their lift, and a coach brought the seniors in and he mentioned, hey, like what do you want to do? How do you want to end this? And they just scrimmaged and traded positions, had some fun, and but everyone again was in a different place, which is tough. So yeah, one thing I wanted to leave it with, which would be really super helpful just for the general lacrosse population out there that might be in high school going through recruiting. It's also kind of a difficult time, especially for those players that, junior year is big, for example, especially just in high school from a developmental standpoint, not even as much recruiting. And, when you don't have that, a lot of times that could affect your confidence or, in your opinion, what your abilities should be going into maybe a big summer season or however you want to progress through your career. So what's maybe one piece of advice you can just offer to the general lacrosse, like the high school lacrosse world for girls that might be in that position where they're like, okay, like what's next for me? I don't really know. And there's a lot of uncertainty, obviously.
Yeah, I love that question. I think it's very natural that stress is a part of this kind of situation right now and recruiting in general right now. But I say it often, and I'll say it again. Just staying present and like sharpening your tools is so important. Like the sharper your tools get, and what do I mean by that? Your speed, your fitness, your strength, your stick work, your mind. So like if you wanted to win a state championship with your high school team, well, go watch a state championship game on YouTube so that you still can put yourself virtually in that experience and picture yourself as one of the jersey numbers on that film, but I do think that mental experience that players are missing right now has to be trained still. So film is definitely something I would say is important, and you can find it on YouTube if you don't have Huddle or anything like that. And then just the sharpening the tools, like there's so much stick work you could do without a wall, with just a stick and a ball, or
Hmm.
no ball.
Yeah.
And I think there's no excuse to not be as sharp as you can for your team once once the window is open and we can play again.
Awesome. Well, Coach TK, we really appreciate your time and we wish you nothing but the best of luck here as you move through at Quinnipiac.
Thank you so much for having me. Go Long Island and go Bobcats.
All right. Thanks, Coach.